So you're probably like, Joe, where is your MacBook that you love so much? This is a 2019 Razer Blade RTX 2070. It's got 144 hertz, 1080p panel on it. I got rid of my MacBook and went to this, and I was gonna do like a whole video. Actually, I did film a whole video. So you guys and realized, wow, this is super fucking boring to watch. So instead of making you guys sit through like a 10 or 15 minute review of me just sitting here talking about it, I'm gonna take you guys with me on my day-to-day, and as we go through the day, I'm gonna tell you guys my pros and cons and why you know what, I'm not gonna give it away. Wow, this camera does not fit in the truck. Full disclosure up front, I did this to myself. I sold my MacBook Pro, I bought a Razer Blade, I started using Windows 10 for work, and now I'm going to sit here and bitch and whine about it for the next couple minutes. I don't know if I just like inconveniencing myself, but about 2 weeks ago I decided, it's 2019, how bad can Windows 10 really be? I am a software developer by trade. That's what I do 90% of the time on a computer. I use my gaming PC, Windows 10, like for about a week straight, didn't open my MacBook once, and after that little week-long test, I decided, screw it, I'm gonna sell the MacBook. I bought a Razer Blade. I've been using it now for about 2 weeks, and yeah, the MacBook, I was getting sick of it. In 2019, it is very underpowered. The graphics card is basically non-existent. Editing in Premiere and After Effects is ridiculously slow. I can't play any video games, like, at all. Maybe Fortnite, no, just don't try to play games on a MacBook, it's not worth it. And some of the 3D stuff I've been doing in some of my more recent videos, like that, are physically kind of impossible to do on the Mac. So I decided I'm gonna make a change. By the way, I'm at my dad's facility. He manufactures and ships like 1,500 pieces a week. Trying to scan and inventory and keep track of all 1,500 pieces a week is a lot. So I've been building him some custom software to help with that. All right, like 3 hours later, I am gonna grab something to eat real quick. But before I do, what do I like about the Razer Blade? First things first, the keyboard is RGB addressable. Every single key can be a different color. When you hold down the function keys actually light up, and you can set the function keys to be media keys, which I do appreciate coming out of a MacBook. The 144 hertz matte 1080p display, I'm actually a huge fan of. I didn't think I would like the matte over the gloss, but the fact that I can use the laptop in direct sunlight has actually been kind of nice. My MacBook is basically unusable in any kind of direct light. And the fact that I can play video games on it, it's got a 2070 in it, so the speed of the Razer Blade is night and day faster than my old i9 MacBook was. The fact that I can play like Battlefield 5, Apex Legends, Rocket League, League of Legends, on the go is kind of nice. It is hindering my productivity a little bit, but I do enjoy that I can play video games. So those three things, that's it. Those are all of my pros about the Razer Blade.
Moments later.
Hey Joe, you said you don't get scared ever.
God damn it.
You said you never get scared. I scared you on camera. Ah, bitch. You said I never get scared. Did you get it? Boo.
What don't I like about the Razer? First things first, keyboard. I know I said I liked it. I like that it's RGB. The keyboard itself is pretty shit, and that's coming from a MacBook Pro user, and we're known for having like very shitty, shallow keys. I never know where my fingers are on this thing. For whatever reason, there's a function key to the right of the right arrow. I can't tell you how many times I've been navigating through a file, because when you're writing code, typically you're using the arrow keys nonstop. And instead of going right, I just tapped function a couple times, and then I just start typing in the wrong spot. Also, the way this laptop cools itself, it diverts as much heat as it can to the center of the keyboard. If you're a gamer, no big deal, but if you happen to be a developer, sometimes I'm compiling code and stuff, and it actually does spin up the fans, and it diverts as much heat as it can to the center of the keyboard, but for me, my hands are still in the center of the keyboard. It gets insanely hot, so if I am forced to write code on this thing, I've been carrying around an external keyboard, which kind of renders the whole like portable laptop part of it useless. The trackpad is absolutely garbage from what I have like looked into. Apparently this is one of the better Windows laptop trackpads available. It is glass, it has a Windows Precision drivers on it. This is like the best Windows has to offer right now. The speakers, at 100% volume, they're about 50% as loud as a MacBook used to be with zero bass. Everything is not bad for a Windows laptop, right? Like the keyboard is pretty good for a Windows laptop. The trackpad is pretty good for a Windows laptop, and the speakers are pretty good for a Windows laptop. Why do I have to justify it as a Windows laptop? It's like saying something's fast for a Toyota. Like, I am, I guess, giving Windows the benefit of the doubt because I know how shitty their laptops have always been, that I have to say this is good for a Windows laptop. Why can no one really like compete with Apple here? Also, the port selection, I can't believe I'm gonna say this because like 3 years ago, I would have been bitching about not having USBs. Over the course of the last 3 years, everything has kind of moved towards USB-C. My Sony is USB-C, my GoPro is USB-C, my DJI drone is USB-C. At this point, I need more USB Type-C ports than I do USB Type-A, and I only have one USB Type-C. Thankfully, it is Thunderbolt 3 compatible, so it still works with my whole like ultimate MacBook setup, but it can't actually charge from that because it requires too much power, and that brings up the next issue I have. What is this? First off, entirely too big. Now I understand that I'm coming from a MacBook which required less power, didn't quite have a 2070 in it, so the power brick didn't need to be as big. But, and this is small for a Windows laptop power brick, this thing is absolutely huge. Why they couldn't have just made this a flip out prong like the Apple did, and you plug this into the wall instead of having all of these wires and having to throw this in your backpack every time you want to travel or anything. And then the actual connector to the laptop is Razer's proprietary little thing. I get that they do this so they can sell more chargers. And the cord they use is the most like kinky, not in a good way, but like annoying, not happy to work with you braided cable I have ever seen. This thing is a nightmare to actually wind it up. It's always kind of like flopping across your desk. Like it's not fun to use at all. It's way too rigid. Why they didn't just use, did I lose the, oh. This would have been so much easier to deal with than this braided cable thing. And at this point, you're probably like, Joe, you don't have an issue with Windows 10, you have an issue with the Razer. You should have picked a different Windows laptop that had better features and stuff that you wanted. That's where you're wrong. The reason I'm actually switching back is the operating system. I'll explain more in a second. So what's wrong with Windows 10? Here's where all the Windows fanboys are gonna get really upset. A lot's wrong with Windows 10. Coming from a software developer, unless you're developing strictly for Windows, most production servers on the web are gonna be running some form of Linux. OS X is built on top of Linux, Windows is not. So anything I build on my MacBook, I can pretty much expect it's gonna run exactly the same when I put it into production. Not something I can say about my Windows laptop. Over the last 2 weeks, I've had a couple projects that worked fine on that laptop. When I push them into production, not so much. Also, maybe I just don't know how to use Windows, but I managed to blue screen out one of my machines at least once or twice a week. And there's not really a store to take your Windows machine to, so when something bad happens to it, unlike Apple, where I can just walk into the store and get another one, Windows, you have to send your laptop off. In my case, Razer. I can't exactly tell a client, like, I can't finish your project because my laptop needs to be fixed in China for a week. Also, not that I didn't think about these things before I switched, I guess I didn't think hard enough about them, but like 20% of the apps I develop are on iOS, which you have to have Xcode, which is a iOS or Apple-only software. Can't do that with the Windows. I figured I could run a VMware, but so far I've been unsuccessful in actually getting that to work. Getting Windows to run on Apple is super simple. Getting OS X to run on Windows turned out to be kind of a bitch. But the real reason that I am, Jesus Christ, getting rid of this laptop and going back to Mac is the Apple ecosystem. What is the Apple ecosystem, you say? Hey, babe. Babe? Can you airdrop me something to my laptop? Ha, just kidding. You can't anymore. Can you send me a text message on my laptop? No, can't do that either. So for whatever reason, like 90 to 100% of people I work with have MacBooks, iMessage, at least in some form, iPhones, I guess. Most of the clients I deal with have iMessage. So typically when a client would text me a PDF and some images and stuff, I could open up my MacBook and get right to work. Now I can't do that. I have to ask them to upload it to Dropbox. I gotta go open up Dropbox, download it, and I know it sounds like I'm bitching about nothing, but when something that used to take you 2 seconds now takes you like a minute or two to go upload it and email it and find the file and then relate it back to your iPhone. There's times that I leave my phone like on the other side of my office all day because I'm so used to text messaging on my computer. She got mad at me the other day for not texting her back all day because my Razer doesn't get my text messages. I have an iPad, I have my iPhone, I have the AirPods, the Apple Home thing. Literally all of these things work perfectly together, and my MacBook was kind of like the central piece of all of that. And when you take one of these pieces out, everything kind of falls apart, especially the AirPods and stuff. The AirPods are basically just overpriced like shitty Bluetooth headphones if you don't own an Apple product. And I think that's like Apple's main agenda here, is to get us so intertwined with all of their products that we can't leave one of them. Like, I'm the first to admit the new Android phones are badass, way cooler than the iPhone. Like once a week I tell Becca that I'm gonna switch to an Android, and then realize that without iMessage, no one wants to talk to you. So that is why I am selling, maybe not, I might keep it. I haven't decided what I'm gonna do with this yet, but that's why I ordered another MacBook Pro. At least they released a Vega 20 version like right after I bought mine, so I can justify, at least it was a little bit of an upgrade. And if I'm gonna lose a couple $100, then at least I can make a video out of it. If some of you guys are in the same situation that you've been on Apple for such a long time, and now you're thinking like, hey, Windows 10 doesn't look that bad, maybe I should make the change. Hopefully this video helped you. I definitely regret it. I'm going back to Apple as fast as possible, especially if you are a software web developer or anything like that. So hopefully this video helped you guys. That is my experience spending 2 weeks with strictly Windows machines after such a long time on Apple. Don't recommend it unless you're strictly like a gamer. That's the only time I can say that I think Windows is better than Apple, is if you just game all day long, that's all you do. Have at it. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me this week, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Smash the subscribe button down below. Next video is either gonna be a Tesla Model 3 review. I believe there's an Aston Martin Vantage I got offered to review. Unwrapping Becca's car because I think she's getting ready to sell it, potentially. So it's time for the wrap to come off, which that would be fun because I've never actually unwrapped a car. I'm pretty sure it's a nightmare, but we'll see. Or doing the front bumper on my truck. We're gonna cut the front frame off and do all that. Regardless what's next, lots of stuff to come, so subscribe and I will catch you guys in the next one.